Welcome to Beyond the Bench, where we connect the minds of the automotive industry, powered by the Automatic Transmission Rebuilders Association and the Automotive Service Tire and Alliance. We'll explore how cutting-edge technology transforms learning and practice and how to get connected to these influential groups. So sit back and relax and enjoy the show. Welcome to Beyond the Bench podcast, and we are here at the ASTA Expo in Raleigh, North Carolina, and tonight I have a young man from a small town independent shop, Mr. Caleb Drake. Mr. Caleb, tell us a little bit about yourself. The passion that I've heard about you and the stuff coming out of your mouth in the last couple of days has been just very intriguing to everybody.
Well, I greatly appreciate that. I always try to put my best foot forward and lead with my heart and be honest and just be true to myself and how I feel. As Brandon said, I'm just from a small town in Cincinnati, or bigger town, mid-towns in Cincinnati, Ohio. I work for an independent mom and pop shop. Um, and I am happy about what I do. Um, I just I see things in the field that I know could definitely use a change for everybody, for coming across how we were talking about young kids lacking passion and everything like that. I think that there is a bridge and gap between our generations for multiple reasons.
Mhm.
And I think some of them are out of the automotive field, but I think it does reflect that in the field, if you will.
I agree. So let's start off. So what's your background?
Background.
So how did you start? How did you get into this and where you're at right now? You're at the expo.
So before I started working on cars, I've always kind of worked with my hands. I've always liked working more with my hands. I like being creative. I like figuring things out. I like being a problem solver. And right when I was starting to become more of like out of the teenage to more of a man, like 16, 17, 18, around that realm,
Mm-hmm.
my uncle, who also works at the independent shop, he was like, "Hey, why don't you come and try this out? You know, I know you're creative with your hands. I think you might like it." And at first, I was very nervous because I didn't know anything about cars. I couldn't tell you the difference between front wheel, rear roll, and four-wheel drive. Like, I'm completely oblivious, didn't know nothing. I couldn't tell you how to change a tire, how to do an oil change, no prior experience whatsoever. But it quickly growed on me. Again, I think just being creative with my hands. And I like working on cars more because tearing them apart and getting into it and getting more in depth and understanding how things work and seeing the completion in it too. It's very satisfying to know that you're able to do this kind of work and send it back out on the road and it's driving again and moving. It's a lot more rewarding than just what I was doing before, where it's just like scrap and like building fences, decks, random stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, it's a lot more rewarding to take a car apart and put it all the way back together and be like, man, like I did that and I did it not just, oh, I did that, but I did it safely. I did it right. And I did it to where the customer can take the car back on the road. And I'm confident in my repairs. And I'm confident that that person is going to go home safely. It's very rewarding to feel that I'm able to do that. And it is very creative and rewarding. I haven't came across another field that has that same kind of feeling. That's
Satisfaction.
yeah, that same kind of satisfaction. No, that's just kind of how it all started. It's just he was like, "Yeah, just why don't you come and try and apply and see what you like?" And I was ever since then, I've loved it. I fell in love with cars. I fell in love with being able to be a problem solver and understanding what's going on and not just a parts replacer. I
Yeah.
want to see what is actually the root cause, why this is happening, why things fail, and what's the actual fix to it. Not just I'm going to put this part on it and send it back out the door, but how do you keep that from the customer coming back? How do you satisfy the customer? How do you keep your shop in like a good name? How do you give it a good name? Not just, oh, like they're a town on the west side like every other shop that's going to screw you over and you're going to come back 4 or 5 times and your car's never fixed. I don't want to do that. I want to have pride in the work that I do. I want to feel confident when that car goes out the door that that mother, that dad, family, whatever is safe when they go down the road and that I'm actually solving the problem. I'm not going to be back 2 weeks later with the same thing and I sold them the wrong thing or I diagnosed it the wrong way, because that is your job. Your
Yeah,
job is to figure it out. Your job is to solve the issue, not just throw a band-aid on it. And
exactly. That's exactly why we're here, to get more of the education, more of the training involved. And how? So, what classes have you taken?
so I started working on cars when I was a sophomore in high school.
Okay.
So my junior year, I went to a vocational school for auto body. So I always thought, well, let's say something fell apart with my boss and I just had to find a new job just because I was young. I wasn't too entirely sure if I would stay at that shop or what my future would hold. So I just thought, man, I think it would be smart that if I should get something that's still in this career field because I like working on cars, but if this falls through, what else can I do to still kind of keep my name in the field?
Yes.
And auto body seemed very intriguing to me as well. I thought about doing that or what was it? It was aviation. It was between that and aviation because aviation seemed really cool too.
Yeah.
Um,
Aviation mechanics are pretty good.
they are, and they're very tedious and they're very on the dot. They're very,
They have to.
yeah, they're very responsible, and I like that. I'd like to be able to keep your head high and know that what I'm doing is important. I'm not just flipping birds. I'm not saying those people aren't important. Every role is important, but
Yes, I see what you're saying, but that's apples to oranges when we're always bringing up the fact of somebody that's in the service industry and then trying to compare that with the automotive industry at the same time. And it is always an apples to orange.
it's,
It's always apples to oranges.
yeah,
There's no difference. Well, I mean, I'm not saying there's no difference. I'm saying there is a big difference.
I agree. I agree 100%. Um, but no, yeah, I was just trying to find a career that if I had to fall back on, that was still intrigued with what I was doing. So I went to vocational school for my junior and senior year for 2 years. And I did graduate. I am a certified auto body technician. Mm. And ever since then, I've just kind of stayed and slowly worked my way up in the mom and pop shop from starting out and doing your basic like tire rotations, tires, little oil changes. To slowly, I got certified through Hunter with alignments,
Okay,
and
that's good.
I've just slowly just kind of started making my way from there to doing alignments, doing stuff like general maintenance, spark plugs, coolant flushes, all that kind of stuff, to beginning to actually like tear things down, dropping subframes, doing a tranny job, a motor job, whatever it may be. And not like tearing a tranny apart because that is way
Yeah,
far superior to
that
my knowledge. Um,
that's my job.
that is exactly your job, yeah, and that's why I do see you as a role model because you are someone who's you're when you do it with your heart, you do it with passion, and you're explaining and you're taking the time to show that to everybody. I feel like there's a lot of older veteran mechanics who don't do that because they don't, I would say not that they don't care, but they they don't have the time to. They want to get their paycheck, get out the door, and go back home, which I also understand. But I just feel like there's a lack of communication in between the two, in a sense of I feel maybe just a maybe different generation and the it's like part of the world that we live in now. Like there's so much that goes on differently in the world than it did 10 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever it may be.
Mhm.
And I feel like a lot of older mechanics wish it was back 10 to 15, 20
Yes,
years
and
ago.
I get it a lot. And most of the people that watch most of the content that I make that make those comments are between the 35, 44 range that do watch, and then there's the higher ups in the 50 and plus. And I get it at that point.
Right.
Because at that point, we're at the end of the game. We're looking for retirement.
You don't want to sit around and
We're
baby somebody all day.
Yeah, and I get it to that point, and it was a conversation that Chris and I had conversation about having to share that knowledge down, get that knowledge down.
It I feel it goes both ways. I feel that older mechanics should share the knowledge, but I feel my generation also has a problem with obtaining the knowledge and actually applying it.
Mhm.
Like anybody can sit there and listen, but are you actually listening, retaining the information
Yeah,
and applying it? Because I feel a lot of my generation has the attitude where, oh, I don't care, I'll just move on to the next job because there's so many different. jobs out there, and there's like I can go Uber. I don't have to listen to you. I can go Uber and just do that. And it's easy. It's an easy cop out, if you will, where I
Yeah.
don't have to listen to you or I think I'm better than you. And I feel that's a lot of my generation's attitude. And I don't like that. I don't think that's a good way to carry yourself. And I don't think that's a good attitude. I feel that you should dive into your passion and really strive to be a better person. I think that, and that goes as well for like in your job, your career, for those around you. I think that you should want to better yourself and those around you so that everybody's succeeding, everybody's learning, everybody's gaining knowledge, everybody's putting their best foot forward. Because if I feel like it's a chain reaction, if you start doing it, then I feel other people will kind of notice, like, man, maybe I should care more.
Yeah.
If he's caring and he's able to achieve this, then why should not anybody else be able to do it?
Exactly. And there's some kickback that I've gotten from some of the others that see the negative side on it, where they've brought somebody in, trained them, teach them everything, and then they went out on their own to open up their own shop, which we do encourage. It's not like we're trying to keep everybody retained in the shop forever or for life, but there are shops that do that and offer 401k and medical benefits and a full retirement plan, stuff like that. And there's those um, that see the hard side where they're doing it themselves. So they're the owner and the mechanic in the shop at the same time, and then hiring another tech and trying to pass down that information. And then they run into problems where, well, I can do the same thing. I can go open up my own shop and I can do that. And they lose the technician. They got to hire somebody else all over again. But then the negative side that we find at the bad part of the industry is when that does happen is that the other guy that just got hired and has been with the company for a long time and they've gotten taken that knowledge and that training from the older generation, and they'll go open another shop and then bash the other shop
I
and
think
try to take all of their business and say that they're doing all this stuff. So that's the change in the industry that we're trying to make out of this, is the fact that if we're all working together, it's the biggest thing. It's not about, well, if this shop up the street had a comeback and it came back to your shop and it customer just said that I've got this problem with this car and I just took it to this shop. They charged me to do this, this, and this. And then a few days later, it started doing the same thing all over again. So you took it to another shop, and then they find another problem that may be contributing to it or something that was missed in the diagnostic or even in the repair. Simple mistakes do happen. And then they'll sit there and then blast the other shop instead of calling the other shop up and say, hey, just wanted to give you a heads up, that we found this and this was one of your customers. We took care of them. And that's where the network of the shop owners come together.
I agree with that. And I think it should be a lot more that way because nobody starts out perfect, knowing everything and being a master mechanic. Like you said, you worked there for 10 years and you moved on and carried your knowledge. And out of respect for the people before you who took that time to give you that knowledge, I agree. I don't think that, oh, like you said, if they have a comeback and it comes to your shop, you shouldn't bash them. Everybody makes mistakes. Nobody's perfect. And also, I feel you bashing that shop doesn't make you any better of a technician, a service writer, or an owner because, like you said, we're here to share the knowledge and so that everybody can put their best foot forward and constantly grow. And
Yeah.
if you're bashing other people, you're not helping people grow. And you as a person are probably not growing because if you have a poor mindset like that, how do you operate in the shop now? What's your attitude with other people? What's your attitude towards your employees, your owner, whatever it may be your position is?
Yeah.
Um, but no, that's a good statement. I do agree with that, and I think that's 100% true. I think you do see that a lot, especially I could see that on my side of the town because there's a lot of auto shops and we're not a big city, a big town. And that's true. A lot of that you do see that happen where a master mechanic will go to another shop or try to do his own thing, but you wouldn't be able to do that if it wasn't for the people who passed down the knowledge and helped you achieve that. Nobody gets by in life on their own. Nobody's always done it all on their self. Like to a degree, yes, you do have to put in the hard work and the perseverance, but somewhere along the lines, someone somewhere helped you and got you to be able to be where you are. Nobody's done everything completely on their own. And if you have, that's not true. I don't think that is because you need to learn. You learn from someone. Someone taught you something. take that knowledge and grown from it. Yeah, you may have grown from it and that may be you 100%, but how did you obtain that? Where did you start? Nobody just opened up a shop and had a bunch of money to be able to do that and hire a bunch of employees and just have all this knowledge for no reason. You started somewhere, everybody came from somewhere.
Exactly, because we're always learning. That's the biggest thing about the industry, or just basically any part of automotive, is that we're always learning. We're always finding new things that happen and how to diagnose them. And even in that skill set, as it grows, it saves consumers money, but we have to invest in ourselves.
That you do. I do agree with that. And I think that that goes back to bashing. I don't think you're investing in yourself if you're bringing other people down.
Agreed. I agree. Then it's more about yourself than
Than it is
more of a
actually
self-serving.
you're 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 being selfish. You're holding the knowledge and like you said, you're bashing other people. You care about your industry and what you do as a job, then you would bring up those who are also in your job and share the knowledge. Say you make a mistake. Oh, I made this mistake. I realized that, hey, if you come to do this or whatever it may be, like look out for these things because when I did this, I made this mistake. I feel like that should be shared. I feel like everybody should own up to their mistakes because everybody makes them. Nobody's perfect. I've made mistakes. I'm sure you have. I'm sure everybody has. You can't. You're only human, and the whole point is to learn from them.
Exactly.
Right.
So, being here at ASTA, what do you think from? I know we're just a couple of days into this, and we've still got one more day left to go. But w- what are the things that you've taken so far in the expo to take home?
Um, the take home, not only just the classes that I've taken to help better myself with my own personal struggles, like I signed up for a lot of diag and like HVAC and EAVP classes because I feel those are the places that I struggle and I know that my knowledge needs to grow there. But I've also not even just like you, but a lot of the other smaller people in techs like me being here, I see that a lot of people share that same feeling and idea that, hey, like we need to grow as technicians, as service advisors, as a shop owner for not just for us, but for again, the consumer, the just everything, you know? You need to you can tell that there's a lot of passion. You
Mhm.
can tell that the people who are here care about what they do and their job and trying to better themselves and the field itself around it. Um, and I think that's important. I think that if you do genuinely care about your job, no matter what position you in, you care about the other people. You care about your service advisor. You care about your owner because you guys work together. It's a job, it's a team. You know, you can change parts all you want, but if you can't talk to the customer and sell it, you ain't changing parts. You ain't doing anything. It takes a team. It takes a team. It really does.
So, what's the first class that you took? Class.
My first class was ADOS. I took that because at my shop, I'm not the only person who can do alignments. There's older techs than me that can do alignments, but I primarily am the person who do alignments.
Mm.
And I've noticed that a lot of times, like when you get an alignment from a body shop, like it's a Christmas tree. There's a bunch of lights on the dash, and a lot of it has to do with like lane departure, lane keeping, forward collision monitor stuff. And it makes me a little, I wouldn't say upset, but I guess maybe nervous or anxious. The fact that I'm only aligning the car and the car still has these other issues with the sensors that could potentially be an issue. You know, I
Mhm.
know that our owner doesn't care to, not, I wouldn't say doesn't, wouldn't, sorry, let me take that back. Not that he doesn't
Fine.
care, but I know that he hasn't started to do that yet because our shop is in the middle of growing a lot. And I just don't think he's there at that point where he wants to take on the ADOS. But I think it's important because I don't like the idea of, oh, the car went to the auto body shop and now it came here, and then it might go back to the auto body shop. And then who's to say that I know that that technician at the other shop is going to fix that sensor and or reset it and do that, and that it's going to continue to be actually repaired, you know? And it makes me nervous that that car goes down the road, if that person gets in an accident. I don't want that to be responsible on me.
And I agree with that. Angry Bob the mechanic is here, and he is big. It's what he does. That's what he does for a living. He has been talking about ADOS stuff for so long, And there was a little bit of controversy around it, and he found out that some of the stuff he misspoke on it, but he fixed it, and it's still a learning process for him as well. Like trying to talk about a new product or a new company that's out on the market, but half of them don't want to deal with it because it's not OE spec yet. But he just now found out that it is. So when we don't get into we get into stuff like with ADOS, which is more of the alignments of the forward camera and all the sensors on the front end, long range, short range sensors.
Radar, whatever it may be. Radar. Exactly. And I just don't like the idea of the car going back and forth a lot because I feel like that's very easily for things to be forgotten, misplaced, or just straight up not fixed. And I don't like that. I don't like it moving around. I feel like there's too much room for error. I'd like to be able to keep the car and finish it 100% knowing that when it leaves our shop that it's truly fixed and that it's not going to be back for whatever issue it may be. Oh, the customer stating that it's just pulling one side or it didn't stop in enough time. And like I would feel absolutely horrible if that person got in a wreck knowing that like I could possibly potentially get the knowledge to obtain to stop that from happening.
Yeah, the equipment is what necessary because not every manufacturer does it though.
That's true.
But it would almost it would look at a sense the shop owner would have to look at and see of is it cost wise to invest into it? Is there that much in it to do it? We do stuff like that, but still, it's not every manufacturer. So in a small town, they have to look at the cost of it. Is it feasible to do in house, or do you have a mobile guy, or is it all sent off to the dealer? So how do you handle it? If it comes in and everything's off and there's a problem with the system, or even after an alignment and it's still pulling, it has nothing to do with the alignment. It has to do with the alignment of the radars and the sensors and everything. And it just needs to get recalibrated. Do you guys send it back to the dealer?
So we have another shop that is in the area called Gateway, and they do that. They do a lot of the ADOS, like recalibrating stuff.
Hang on a second.
Go ahead, sir.
Why is it showing his face? I don't know why it has Chris's face on the screen.
He's too good. He has to be here still. That's the problem. You are way better and know far more of my knowledge to this, so
Now I'm worried that it's gonna have Chris's face whenever you're talking, so I may end up only doing pulling audio.
whatever you think is best, sir.
We'll run it for another 5 minutes, and we'll go from there because run over on the ADOS. So just try to pick back up on we were talking about.
No, I do agree, and I do think that is smart too. As being a smaller town shop, is it cost effective? Am I actually going to benefit it from it, or am I going to hurt my technicians by taking that on because now I'm not ready for that? And am I going to have to, is it going to be costly and expensive? Is it going to be the wrong decision? And that is smart. And that does go further than my knowledge because I'm not a shop owner. I can't make that decision. Um, I'm only trying to do what's best as I think as a technician, you know,
Yeah,
and I just feel keeping the car and knowing that it's fully solved just makes me have more peace at mind as a technician.
yeah, I
It,
agree. I agree, and we want more for that, and sometimes we ask more for from the shop owner that doesn't have the capabilities to do it. They don't have the capital or the funds to do it at the same time. So yeah, the that's the other sense of it is that I know that the technicians want more out of the shop owner, and sometimes the shop owner doesn't have all just yet to do it, but they still have to look at the numbers of inflow of cars. Is it feasible or is it cost effective to do that all in house versus having to sublet? So that's another portion of doing things. It's called sublet. That's why I was asking. So do you have to, since you don't have the equipment in house, do you send it to the dealer or do you have somebody that comes by that has the ability to do it?
they might come by or we might drop it off, but it's another shop that is set up solely for that, for ADOS. And they are smart and knowledgeable people. I have been over there a couple of times. We've done a couple of training, like or seminars, if you will. Um, and they are very knowledgeable. They are. I do have confidence in them, if you will.
Yeah.
I don't think it's just getting sent to Joe Smo down the street who says he can work on the cars and do it. It's just more of a peace of mind. But again, you know, like you said, is it cost effective? Is it hurting the shop or is it helping the shop? And that is ultimately the bigger decision because it's not just me. Granted, it does make me feel better, but again, it's the shop, it's everybody, it's the owner, the advisors, and the techs. And that is important too, because everybody's a team. Back to that, and you have to look out for everybody, not just the one technician or me, which is totally understandable. And I agree with that.
So, off of that subject, what was the next class that you took today?
I took, so the two classes I took today were electrical diag, or I think it was inter, I can tell you, I got it right
Yeah,
here.
you got it right there.
Proper electrical testing. Sorry, I've wanted to say it was intro to diag, and then the other one was evap systems, because I know I struggle with that. I'm not the best with emissions nor electrical diag, just because one, I don't have a lot of those like diag tools like power probe scanners, and we do have like a shop scanner, and I can do your basic knowledge, if you will. Like I can look at live data and kind of understand what's going on, and I can see graphs and understand like what's kind of going on. I'm not gonna say I know everything because my knowledge I know is very novice compared to other people, and I'm still young in the field. But I can get your basic grasp of electrical problems if you will.
Yeah.
But I know that that's something that I need to improve on, especially if I'm going to stay in this field and continue to work on cars. You're gonna have to. Everything's changing, especially with EVs coming. That's why I
Yes.
feel like that's important because we're going away from that to all electric cars. That's the future. It is. Okay.
There's a lot of them in California that are gearing up just to do nothing but EV certifications, to get their EV certifications to work on that, and that's all they're working on. Because there's nothing but a lot of electrical vehicles that are in California, and I saw it firsthand. But yeah, yeah, basic electrical theory and will give you more of an understanding electrical diagnostics. It's getting the fundamentals very as important as using it and understanding what you're doing with it.
I agree, and I just know that that's. I wouldn't say struggle with it, but just haven't been in that as much. That might also be because I'm still a newer tech, which I
Yeah.
understand. But anything that I can and that I can learn, I want to know. You can always improve, and you can always learn. And it doesn't matter if you're 30, 50 years old, a shop owner. Everybody can always improve.
Exactly.
And I just, I know that is the future. I know that that's what's coming. Same thing with emissions. I know emissions are a big thing right now. And I would like to grasp my knowledge better on that as well. So that's also why I took that class.
Yeah, yeah, with evap emission systems, those, and I know the EPA is doing their thing about saying, "Oh, now we don't need restrictions."
Yeah.
That it was just too much. We're not trying to make it to where it's going to derate the truck.
Mm,
So yeah, but yeah, an evap system is something that is important because how the system is used is very important to us as consumers that drive the vehicles. In my opinion, especially how closed systems work and you don't have a return system, or you do have a return system, and how the gas fumes expand. You don't want a gas tank to blow up,
exactly.
fill up.
And that's what we were talking about today, like proper ventilation and understanding like a purge valve being open so that that tank doesn't swell in or suck in. That's important. They can kill somebody, blow up, or something very serious could happen. Um, and I think that's also important. Again, going to EV cars and the kind of emission restrictions that my knowledge isn't best on that. But I know that is a serious part. I know that's more of like a out west kind of thing, like in California and those states over there. I know it's kind of more, I wouldn't- let's say maybe an issue, but hmm, more of a, my mind is blanking right now. More of a, more of a, gosh, what's the correct word for this? Hmm. Like they're that's more of their concern, if you will, is the emission side out there. Which whatever that may have to do with, I don't know, politics, whatever
Yeah,
it may
I
be.
don't get into the middle. I don't try. I try not.
Yeah, and that's
Try not to touch that.
no, you're fine. It's just more so meant
Let
I don't
everybody else deal with
yeah.
with politics.
No, no, no.
But
I
we all
don't
know that it just some aspects of it just don't need to exist.
Yeah, no, and I totally agree. I just more so meant that whatever plays the bigger role into emissions, I know that that is out of more so like the tech, the owner, our control, if you will. And I know that that is becoming a more broader topic, if you will. I would say maybe not a broader topic, but more of a concern, again, if you will.
Yeah.
If you look
Yeah.
at 90s and 80s cars, that wasn't as much there as what's happened in the last 5 years. That's been, I feel like emissions have become a lot more of a concern, if you will.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I was wanting to more so lean to take that class because I feel it's important. I feel like it gets talked about a lot, if you will. And whether, like again, back to whether that's a Midwest or an out West thing or why it is or whatever it may be, but it's obviously gaining traction and attention. Seen many videos about it, whether people are talking about it, whatever the subject may be, but still relying to emissions and everything underneath the sun about that.
Yeah. So what's the class that you're taking tomorrow?
Triage diagnostics.
Triage diagnostics. Sounds like chickens and chucks
I
line of triage.
he I seen him throughout the expo too, and it was really nice to talk to him as well. Because that's why I like watching his videos for the whole understanding diag more.
Yeah.
Um,
Sorry, one camera died, but we'll continue with this one. We'll close it out. And we'll close it out. But yeah,
no, you're
triage
fine.
diagnostics.
Yes,
So that's a good way to put it.
I may be saying it wrong. Triage. I feel like triage is the correct.
That's it.
Okay, just want to make sure. I know I could possibly be wrong. I work on cars. I'm not a B
And
spelling bee contender of the world or anything like that.
the diagnostics, in that sense, I would say it's like, okay, we need to assess the patient. So doing an assessment
Okay,
is part of the diag.
got you. Okay, see, and that's what I mean. I knew I needed to take it because my knowledge is not it's
Yeah.
not there on that. It's something I know that I actively struggle with that I know needs improvement. And again, that goes back to EV cars and the future that if I'm going to stay in this industry, what's it going to look like 15, 20 years from now when I'm still in the industry? I think that will be a big part. EV will be a big part of that. Obviously we're pushing and growing more on it. You see more and more cars that are coming out as EV and they're I wouldn't say maybe we're leaning that way, but that is the future that I think that everybody is looking towards. We
Yeah.
will.
I don't think everybody, but
No, not everybody,
like
but manufacturers.
manufacturers.
Yeah, I could have worded that better. Sorry. No, yeah, there's definitely people like us who still love our square bodies and everything underneath the sun.
Let's swap the world.
Yeah, let's swap the world. I like that. I'm a big we have talked about cars a lot, but I'm a big Chevy and I'm also a JDM fan. I love Hondas. I absolutely love Hondas. That was my bread and butter when I started working.
Yeah.
They're simple to work on. They're easy. Well, every part has easy and hard parts, but I do think that like Toyota, Honda, like those are easier cars to work on, if you will. I feel like those are good if you were to become a technician or starting to be a technician. I feel like they keep it pretty simple. They're a little bit easier to work on. Don't get me wrong, every car maker model has something about it that's for some reason extravagantly more hard or a longer process than feel need be. All cars have that. There's just no way around that. Every tech goes, man, I hate whoever engineered this car. They always do that. You can't avoid that. But no, yeah.
Well, I hope you enjoyed your time here at the expo and your last days tomorrow. And I'll still be here, and we will pick up from the next one. And I'm glad to have you on. Your perspective, seeing where things are with the younger generation and what you can give back to them, as far as like that passion and to drive.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate you taking the time to have me on here and to reach out and to try and solve that situation that's obviously very apparent right now because it's the truth. It's everybody's talking about. And
Get everybody connected and get him connected with the information he may need to see as well, and hopefully take some information back and talk to the shop owner.
I would, that's been, so I've been waiting for a Monday morning when I go back. And it's funny you say that because I was talking kind of to my boss about that today as well. Like, I really took these classes and I'm really excited to come back with the knowledge and to be able to grow as a technician to help the other techs that are in the shop as well, because that everybody needs help. Everybody gets stuck on something. But no, I do really like the topic that we talked about. I'm very passionate about it. And I guess just to kind of put this out there, I think it goes both ways. I think once everybody kind of realize that us as a younger generation might need to step up and the older generation might need to step up, that it will make coming collectively together a lot easier and a lot more genuine, a lot more care into it, a lot more passion.
Yeah. Takes everybody working together.
It does.